Welcome back to another episode of the Raw Prospect Podcast. My name is Nixon. That is Michael Wein. And tonight we are doing something very fun and a little bit different than what we usually do for our NFL episodes. If you're new here, we do this every single week. We recap that week in the NFL and that week in college football. We have two different podcasts, Deep in the Heart of Longhorn Sports, and this one, the Raw Prospect Football Podcast. So if you're new here and you like what we do, make sure you like the video and you subscribe to our channel. But tonight, we're going to be going through kind of the NFL's middle class, and we're going to be deciding whether to buy, sell, or hold on their current win total projections for the rest of the year, and how we kind of feel about these teams in this little snapshot of time. So these are the teams we're going to be going through: the Steelers, Cowboys, 49ers, Falcons, Vikings, and Bears. And we're going to be doing this throughout the season. So if we don't get your team tonight, we probably will at some point throughout the year. But these are the teams we chose tonight. I'm excited for it. And before we get into it, I got to introduce my co-host, Michael. How are you doing, man?
Man, I'll argue, and this has nothing to do with football, but I'll argue that if you have a team in the fight, if you have a team in the playoffs right now, and you really care about that team, and you're really invested like I am, there's nothing more stressful than an elimination game in the MLB playoffs. And that's what I just went through for the better part of 3+ hours. Now, the Yankees got it done, fortunately. They got the 3 outs they needed, and they force a deciding Game 3 tomorrow, Yankees-Red Sox. I don't care if you don't like either of those teams. If you've got nothing going on tomorrow night, just turn that thing on. That's gonna be intense. But I'm happy for now because the New York Yankees won a baseball game that they had to win to keep their season alive tonight, and we'll see what happens tomorrow.
Yeah, there's nothing you love to hate more as a fan than win or go home games for your favorite team. There's nothing more stressful, more, I guess, gut wrenching, yet intriguing, and you can't take your eyes off the screen as a sports fan than that scenario. But we're pretty far from that right now in terms of that in football. But it's definitely going to fly by. It's going to be January before we know it. But to start off here, let's start with a conversation about our teams, starting with your Steelers. I know you were very excited to talk about them. We talked about a little bit off the show about how you were feeling about them. But then we'll get into my Cowboys next. But starting with your Steelers, though, what is your kind of gauge on how you're feeling about them right now? And based on their win total, are you buying, selling, or holding off on the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Is their win? I believe their win total is 8.5. Correct.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. The Steelers have started 3-1, a total of 19 times since the merger. 17 of those times, the merger was 1970. So 19 times in the last 55 years, they've started 3-1. And in 17 of those seasons, they made the playoffs. So if history tells us anything, and in that time, in 5 of those seasons, they won 5 Super Bowls. Now, they're not winning a Super Bowl this year, but history tells us that the beginning to this season, the first fourth of this season, the Steelers more likely than not will find themselves in the playoffs. It might be as the 7th seed again, but they more than likely, after starting a season like this, make the playoffs in their franchise history. Point number 2, and you can probably see where this is heading. The Steelers are a flawed football team. They might end up winning 9-10 games, but they're maybe even 11 games. But they're a flawed football team, right? The first 3 games of this season, they couldn't run the ball at all. Their offensive line was still kind of a mess, still trying to figure it out. And while the offense has had flashes, and we've seen DK Metcalf had his flashes, and the defense, start to get it going here lately, look at all the other teams in their division. The Browns are now starting a rookie quarterback. They've already benched Joe Flacco. They got a good win against Green Bay, and that defense is good, but their offense is hard to watch. The Bengals have been unwatchable since the Joe Burrow injury. That doesn't look good, and it doesn't look like he's going to play in either matchup against Pittsburgh. And then Baltimore has their fair share of injury issues right now, and their defense isn't very good. So, given that the Steelers are a pretty good team, but they do have their flaws, some of them could be fatal, all the other teams in their division have the same thing going. So I look at the landscape of this division first off, and I say to myself, well, if you have the kind of defense that has shown itself the last 2 weeks against Minnesota and against New England, a game in New England where they forced 5 turnovers, and a game this past week where they were really good up until the very, very end, right? They sat Carson Wentz 6-7 times, dominated that Minnesota offensive line, which was banged up, but they did what they had to do. They got Carson Wentz on the ground. Deshaun Elliott came through with an interception. TJ Watt came through with a big play late in that game. Nick Herbig's been an awesome beast. If you have the defense you say you have, and the offense can just do what it's been doing throughout the season, which is start pretty fast and then make plays late in the game, you should be able to beat Cleveland twice, and you should be able to beat Cincinnati twice. That's no guarantee because those are divisional games. But that should be at minimum 4 wins in the division. Okay? So I look at that, and if that happens, well, now you're up to 7 wins already. They can just take care of business. And then I feel like if they can, here's the key for Pittsburgh. They got to be but they're going to give up yards. We've already seen that. This defense is going to give up yards in between the 20s. But if they can do a good job getting off the field on 3rd down, and they can be opportunistic like they have been the last couple weeks, give the offense extra possessions, and they can find the right mix of Smith and Jaylen Warren once he's healthy in the run game, and they can run it consistently, this will be a team that exceeds 8.5 wins. I'm pretty confident with the landscape of their division, the way Rodgers is playing, which is kind of like Chris Paul in the NBA, just distribute it to your playmakers and manage the game.
Yeah.
Don't put the ball in harm's way, which he's done a pretty good job of so far this year. And then the defense can just bend but don't break. I like this Steelers team with the way the division is set up right now to get past that 8.5 win mark. Now, how many do they get to? I don't know. It could be 9. It could be 10. It could even be 11 this year. But I think the big key is you got to take care of Cincinnati and Cleveland because those two teams they shouldn't be able to beat you right now if you have the kind of defense that you say you have.
Yeah. To your point, when we talked before the season, one of the main things we mentioned about this Steelers team was how tough their schedule gets past week 5. So now with knowing that, knowing who the Bengals are and who the Browns are a little bit more, that changes things a little bit. But they still, they got to play the Chiefs. They got to play the Ravens twice, who they look a little bit questionable right now too. But besides the point, I think this Pittsburgh team has, at the very least, gone from a above average team to a good team, which is not, that's not nothing. That is that's
It's not
something that you can feel happy about as a Steelers fan for sure. And what I'll say too is what they showed against Minnesota last week was very encouraging defensively. That was the first time I had seen some real creativity and some real just like blitzing out of this Pittsburgh Steelers team in quite a while. They've really just relied on their front four to win, and a lot of times they do. But in the NFL, you can't just out talent people. Everybody's talented, so you got to have ways to scheme up your guys and have free rushers get to the quarterback, and they did that on Sunday in Ireland. So if they continue to be creative in that way, I definitely think they're going to see a lot more positive performance out of this defense, especially with Derek Harmon back. This defensive line is a lot more, I think, complete with Derek Harmon in the fold, because you're getting that interior pass rush to go along with what TJ Watt, Nick Herbig, and Highsmith are already doing. So really good Steelers team, and I'm definitely buying the 8.5. I think at the very least, if there's any team that I would be confident in to reach 10 games out of the list of teams that we're talking about today, it's probably this one.
Yeah, I will correct you on one thing that you said. They don't have to play the Chiefs, but they do have to play the Chargers and Buffalo. Mm-hmm. So the schedule does get tougher past week 6.
Okay, yeah.
They come off a bye. They're on a bye this week, and that's one thing I don't like. It's a pretty old team, and they have an early bye. I don't like that. I'd rather have the bye, say middle of the year, later on in the year, if possible. But it is what it is. It at least will give Calvin Austin and Jalen Ramsey some time an extra week to heal up from whatever injuries that they're currently dealing with. But yeah, man, the thing I'm watching, and one of the X factors for this Steelers team, I just love this stat. If you watch the Steelers, you will see this big boy on the field a lot of the time when they go jumbo package on offense. He wears number 80, and his name is Darnell Washington. He's what, like 6'4", 6'5"? No, he's like 6'7".
Yeah, he's like 6'7", 6'8". Yeah.
He weighs they list him at 265. I think he's close to 300.
Yeah.
But listen to this. 2023 to 2025, okay, since he was drafted, when he plays 40 or more offensive snaps, he's done it in 6 games. It should be more than this. They have to start doing it more. But when he plays more than 40 offensive snaps, the Steelers are 6-0. They're averaging 125 rushing yards per game, 7 rushing touchdowns. They're outscoring opponents in those games 149 to 110. And he's played 2 of those games were against Baltimore, and they beat him both times. So I was begging for it last year. They didn't do it enough. I've been begging for it since he was drafted to help this run game, put him in as an extra offensive lineman, put him in as an extra tight end, because it works, especially with that outside zone that the Steelers like to run. We saw it work on Sunday morning in Dublin. And then get him the ball in the red zone, which they have done a good job of. I'll give them credit there. Because, how is anyone going to guard that guy down in the red zone? Just the size of him. I think he scored a touchdown in the Seattle game. It was. He caught that first touchdown in the Seattle game. So he needs to play more because he helps this run game significantly. They did it on Sunday, and it really helped to counteract a really good front that Brian Flores has. And we're getting to a sample size now where you go okay, 6 games, you're averaging 125 rushing yards per game. Ride that wave. Because if they can get the run game going, that's not only going to help their offense, but it's going to help their defense too. Because you don't want this defense having to play too many snaps. And that's where the Steelers defense has really gotten themselves into trouble in the past, is too many 3-and-outs from the offense. And the one thing I will say is they've done a really good job starting faster in games. 3 of their 4 opening drives this season have resulted in a touchdown. And I think they had maybe 1 opening drive all last year that resulted in a touchdown. And they're just better situationally in the red zone so far this year. So I'm pretty hopeful right now. I don't wish for injuries, but you look at the state of the division, and it's not looking great for either of those three teams right now. And I just hope that the Steelers can take care of business coming out of this bye week against Cleveland at home and then on the road against Cincinnati. Both of those teams do not look very capable at all on offense right now.
Right.
But we can move on.
Yeah. Let's get through this Dallas Cowboys conversation pretty quickly here. I think in short, for this Cowboys conversation, whether I'm buying, selling, or holding, I think I'm probably going to hold off on this team. I think the line currently for the Cowboys is 7.5. Yeah. No, it's at 6.5.
I have 7.5.
Okay, yeah. So it was at 6.5 to start the year, and it's at 7.5. Yeah. So, yeah, I think I'll buy that. That's tough though. Here's the thing with the Cowboys. This is the best I've ever seen Dak play. And that's saying so. With that, I think that, and I have to give Brian Schottenheimer credit as well. Like I think, in terms of like the balance of the offense and like the actual like game flow of the offense in terms of play calling, I think it's been very good. It's probably been as good as I've seen it in the Dak era of football. Obviously, the defense has been a whole other story, but I also think in year one of a massive scheme switch up, we haven't flipped over the roster to fit the schemes that Matt Eberflus wants to run, and that's leading to a lot of blown coverages and a lot of just misimplementation of players. Players that should be in man coverage, like Trayvon Diggs and Deron Bland, that specialize in that, are forced to be more read and react type of players and be more quick twitch, and kind of play off of defenders and read the quarterback's eyes a little bit more. And that's not what they're good at for the most part. So the Cowboys, I think they're going to stay close in a lot of football games. Whether they win 8 games though, that's I think I'm gonna hold on it because it's a coin flip, because we're gonna be in a lot of close games, and whether we win them is anybody's best guess, honestly.
Yes, this is through four games. This is the best Dak Prescott that I've seen, maybe since his rookie year in a long time.
Yeah,
he is. It feels like the marriage, whatever else is going on with the Dallas Cowboys, it feels like the marriage between him and Brian Schottenheimer has been nailed so far. Whatever magic has been being worked there, that's good. And they do have enough playmakers. That's never been an issue. George Pickens balled out. Have to give him his props on Sunday night against Green Bay. He stepped up in the absence of CeeDee Lamb. By the way, Cowboys question: when is CeeDee Lamb coming back?
Probably 2 to 3 weeks out still. That ankle is a tough one because it's really about pain management. I don't think he's going to re-injure it. So he could probably play on it this week, but I don't think he will. So probably 2 weeks, 3 weeks at the most.
You have the playmakers. You're going to score points on offense. The run game's been pretty good. You have the number 1 total offense in the NFL, 404.3 yards per game. Okay, and Dak is not just playing good football, but he's not turning the ball over, which is awesome. So you have the offensive side going for you, and that's great. Obviously, you want to get CeeDee Lamb back as soon as possible. Your next 2 games are on the road. It's at Carolina, and it's at the Jets, if I have that correct. They need to take care of business in these kinds of games if they want to get to that, 7.5 win total?
Yeah.
if they can get by both Carolina and the Jets are awful. Like the one thing that's kind of been nagging at me with that Steelers segment is like that Jets game, that should have never been close, but it was. With the way that we've seen the Jets play the last 3 weeks. But yes, take care of business in those games, and you just need the defense to bow up a couple times a game. Maybe force a turnover. Maybe, force a team to kick a field goal inside the red zone and not score a touchdown. If they can just get a couple stops per game, I think they'll hit the 7.5 win mark with as well as Dak has been playing. I think it's a good sign that they were able to at least tie Green Bay. I know I was hoping the Cowboys actually would have won that game. They had a couple chances there.
Yeah.
It's a tough one though right now. I can't say with definitiveness that I'm going to buy it, so I will hold it. I'm not selling my Cowboys stock yet. I'm holding it, and I'm hopeful that with this offense, you add CeeDee Lamb back into the fold, and with maybe just like an opportunistic defense that they can get there.
Yeah, and with how low I was coming into the year on this Cowboys team, anything I'm saying now feels very positive. I guess that's the good news. I guess that's the good thing about having low expectations on your team.
Right.
Is
Exactly.
you can feel happy about being mediocre. And for what it's worth, Ryan Schottenheimer did get the best out of Russell Wilson when he was in Seattle as well. So
He did.
that's something to take into account also for, I guess, why he could be, getting the most out of Dak. But with that, we can move on here. On to the San Francisco 49ers conversation. This one is an interesting one. Brock Purdy just got ruled out again with that foot injury. So Mac Jones is going to be starting this week. They're currently sitting at 3-1. And they're not in a bad spot. They got a division win already under their belt. They still have everything in front of them outside of that in terms of their, division games. So where do you sit with this 49ers team? They're dealing with some injuries. They're playing decent, but they haven't shown any type of dominance yet. What is your feel on them?
What is their win total? Do you have that in front of you?
Their win total is
Like 9.5, 10.5.
Yeah, so to start the year, it was 10.5. Now it's 9.5.
Okay. Well, first off, the fact that they've played, I think it's 2 divisional games so far, and they've won both of them. They beat Seattle in week 1, and it was a crazy nail biter, and they beat Arizona, I think, a couple weeks ago. I think it was a game that you bet, and they won by 1 point. The line was 1.5. That's how I remember that. They have another divisional game coming up tomorrow. We're recording this Wednesday. They play at the Rams, or is it at home? I don't know. They play the Rams tomorrow. Injuries just continue to bite this team. They have been this way for I don't know how many years now. Like in the Kyle Shanahan era, they are the most injury-riddled team in the league. It just seems that way. Tomorrow out against the Rams, you got Brock Purdy, George Kittle, Ricky Pearsall, Juwan Jennings, Brandon Ayuk, Nick Bosa, Malik Mustafa, and Ben Barch. That is a lot of injuries. They need to get healthy. That's first and foremost. But when Mac Jones has played, he's played really well. 4 touchdowns and only 1 pick when he's been in the game. He's operated the offense fine. He's been I hate to use this term so often, but he's been kind of a game manager. He's been pretty good. He maneuvers the offense down the football field. I still want to see more out of this running game. It just feels like the Christian McCaffrey run game of years past hasn't quite gotten there yet. 9.5 is a big number. I need to see this team fully healthy. They're not blowing me away right now. with their style of play. They are winning games. I'll give them that. They do find a way to win. But how sustainable is that down the road? Let me take a quick peek at their schedule. Right now, I'm holding off on that. I'm holding off right now. But maybe you can convince me otherwise. What do you think?
Yeah, it's tough, but yeah, I think I'm kind of with
Their
you.
division is
I'm holding off on it. If anything, they're probably a sell candidate at this point with all the injuries they faced. But I'm not going to completely be out just because the track record that Kyle Shanahan has, and I also don't think I think you can do a lot worse than Mac Jones as a backup quarterback. Like I think he can at least run the offense and he can, you know, do most of the things that Brock Purdy was doing. So I think this team will still be in the hunt, but if I'm, choosing whether or not they're going to make the playoffs, I'm probably going to say no at this
right
point.
now. I'd have both Seattle and Los Angeles ahead of them in that division. And Arizona's no knockover. Like San Francisco really had to fight to win that game at home a couple weeks ago. I think Arizona's sitting at 2-2 right now, so like they're going to be in this fight too. They might not make the playoffs, but I mean we could have probably included them in this segment if we were doing more teams because they're not a bad team. Brock Purdy's last 16 starts, he's 6-10. He's got over 4,000 passing yards and 24 touchdowns, but he does have 16 interceptions. So it hasn't been bad, but it hasn't been great either. And Mac Jones has been good. Winning tomorrow's game I think it's on the road. Is it? Do you know where that game is tomorrow? Anyway, if they can win tomorrow's game with all these injuries, that would be it would be a coaching win is what it would be. If Kyle Shanahan can figure out a way down his top three receivers, his tight end, and his quarterback to go beat the Rams on the road or at home, I don't care where, against that defensive front, that would be mightily impressive. I wouldn't put it past Kyle Shanahan to do it because he's that good of a coach. And that's one of the reasons that I'm not completely selling my stock right now. But it just feels like every time I want to believe in San Francisco, another guy gets hurt. It's just it doesn't happen with any other team in the league.
No, yeah, exactly. It is quite unfortunate, honestly, for 49ers fans. But with how much grief they've given me as a Cowboys fan, I certainly don't feel bad for them.
I don't.
So with that, we'll move on to our next team. It's going to be the Atlanta Falcons. This is an interesting conversation for sure. Their current over/under win total right now sits at 8.5. It sits at the same number that it did at the start of the year. They're sitting at 2-2 right now. A couple of, I guess, not ugly losses, but definitely that Carolina loss was one that, that's if you're ranking how bad of losses like any team has had this season, that's probably ranking like pretty far up and near the top. That was very ugly, but they did bounce back. They're in a decent spot, I think. Their defense has been better than I expected. Michael Penix Jr. has been up and down, but I think the feel coming off of last week is mostly positive, and he's heading in a positive direction. But where are you sitting at with this Falcons team? For me personally, I think I'm probably selling just a little bit.
Yeah, it's a tough one. What is their over under? Is it like 8.5?
It's 8.5. Yeah, it's the same number it was to start the year.
Okay, well here are things that I like. First of all, they're giving up the fewest yards allowed per game in the entire conference in the NFC. Defense has actually been good. 10 sacks through 4 games. That's the most a Falcons team has had through the first 4 games of a season since 2017. The defense is actually outside of that Carolina game, which was just a bad game. That really can't happen, and that's the reason they're in this conversation. And like they are, given that they lost that Carolina game, they are, what is it, 0-2 in their division. You don't love that.
Yeah.
But the defense is actually playing halfway decent. Like they're playing good enough to win in most of these games. And Michael Penix Jr. played really well in his last game. And Bijan Robinson has been an absolute beast this year. And they do have the offensive line. They do have the weapons. But it just feels like there are those weeks where they do I fully trust the Falcons is the question that I ultimately have to ask myself. 8.5, can they get to 9 wins? I believe that they could. I don't want to hold every time.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna buy. I'm gonna slightly buy them. Why not? They put it on the Vikings the week that they played them, and they showed me something this past week, winning that game against the Commanders, who I know don't have their quarterback, but the defense is playing well enough. I like their offensive weapons. They just got to show up every week, and that's easier said than done.
Yeah.
But I'll slightly buy them. Why not? I think they could get. How many games did they win last year? 8. I think Penix for the most part is playing well. I'll slightly buy them.
Yeah, they were somewhere in that range. They were sitting around 7-8 wins. So yeah, it'll probably be the same thing again, to be honest. I don't get the vibe that the defensive line moves that they made, are quite as good as they maybe would have hoped, but it's definitely an improvement. There's no doubt about it. Brandon Dorless, him getting back after being injured, like some of the picks that they made in years past that have been injured are back now. So on top of having those 2 first-round picks, they have all those guys back. And so that now they have a really nice young core on that defensive line that's not fully developed yet, but you see the potential there and you see the flashes, definitely. So that part of it, I think, is something to feel positive about if you're a Falcons fan, is the fact that defensive line, they're nowhere near their full potential yet, and who they are now isn't going to be who they are in, come December. They're probably going to be a much better overall unit as a pass rush by then.
Yeah, and to add on to my point, they're 3rd in total defense and 7th in total offense. I just find if they can stay top 10 in both of those categories, I find it hard how they don't reach at least 8, and I think they'll eventually get to 9 if they can maintain that.
Yeah, the fact that they're 7th in total offense with a goose egg game is insane. But yeah, that goes to show you how well they actually played in those other ones.
Okay. What's our next team on the block?
Yeah, next one is the Minnesota Vikings.
I'll let you start us off here.
Yeah, Minnesota. They're sitting at 8.5 also. Same number it was to start the year. They're sitting at 2-2. Yeah, this one we haven't seen JJ McCarthy in a couple weeks. He's dealing with that. What is it? Is it a quad injury? I want to say it's something. It's something in the lower extremities. I think.
I think it's.
But
I think it's
regardless of that, yeah, that sounds right. I think it's the ankle. But regardless of that, the offensive line, has given the quarterbacks that have been in there no chance, regardless of who's been in there those last couple of weeks in particular. And they invested heavily in this unit this offseason, and they haven't yet fielded the unit that they wanted to put out because of the injuries that they've been dealing with. So it's unfortunate, but I just don't know if I can see this Vikings offense reaching a level of consistency needed to win 10 games. Or win 9 games. I think I have to sell on them right now based on what I've seen from JJ McCarthy and based on what I've seen from this offense. Like, are they going to be able to protect enough to get the ball to these playmakers? I don't know. Like, they did get Jordan Addison back, and he looked solid. But it's a tough one. But I am going to have to sell.
Yeah. And the tough thing about, because I do agree with you, I'm selling my Viking stock as of right now, and in 5 weeks you could look stupid because I still think they have a top 2, top 3 coaching staff in the entire league, and that's where I have my doubts about selling. Is like they do have Kevin O'Connell and they do have Brian Flores, but
Yeah.
the same time, JJ McCarthy has played 8 quarters in his career, and I'm by no means giving up on JJ McCarthy. It's way too small of a sample size to ever say he's a bust already. But in 7 of those 8 quarters, he did have that one quarter against the what was it, the Bears?
The Bears.
He had that one quarter against the Bears where he looked good. But in 7 of the 8 quarters, it's been some of the worst quarterback play I've ever seen in the NFL. Their offensive line is banged up right now. They kept harping on this point in that game on Sunday morning. The Steelers took advantage of it. I think Ryan Kelly has gone down at center. The guard that they brought in, Will Freeze, he's also been banged up. They've had a tackle or 2 banged up here and there. The line's got to be healthy or they stand no shot based on what I saw on Sunday against good defensive fronts, and you have 1, 2, 3 good defensive fronts in your division.
And they play the Browns
this week. They play a lot of good defensive fronts, and 3 of them are in their division. Like the Packers, great defensive front. And this is all in relative terms. We could do an episode ranking defensive fronts, but like the Packers in general have a really good defensive front. Lions, when they want to, with Hutchinson and all of those dudes, can really get after you. And so can Chicago sometimes. They have some dudes on their defensive front that can get after the quarterback. And they're going to be our last team that we talk about. I just don't believe this offensive line, especially with all these injuries, even when it has been healthy, it's not giving these quarterbacks enough time to play within the system of Kevin O'Connell. With Carson Wentz and a rookie, I know Brian Flores is good. I know Kevin O'Connell is good, and they're missing Aaron Jones, which is another killer, even though Jordan Mason, I think, is definitely capable. I'm slightly selling my Minnesota stock right now. If you can't protect, it's really hard to win in this league. And they still seem to be having some problems. And then their run defense has been a little squishy lately, which I also don't love.
Yeah, to your point, the whole point of bringing Jordan Mason in the first place was to have him be a committee with Aaron Jones and keep Aaron Jones healthy. So the fact that Jones got hurt right away is, it's not ideal. But I think if you're asking Vikings fans, I think they would rather have him, hurt now than, late on in the year, which is
unless
a couple of years.
Isaiah Rodgers has something to say about it, because that guy has been a freaking beast so far this year.
Yeah,
he had a game where I think he had a fumble returned for a touchdown and a pick returned for a touchdown. What game was that? It was the game before Pittsburgh. I think it was against Cincinnati. That was nuts.
Yeah, I think shoot, I don't know if it's PFF that has the stat called like win shares or wins above replacement, like the NFL version of it. But basically, Isaiah Rodgers had like a perfect score in that, like 99.3 out of 100 or something like that.
Beast.
In that
guy
game.
is good. He's really good. Where did he come from?
He was on the Eagles as a backup last year, and the year before that, he was suspended for betting. So he's just been, I don't know, he's just been bouncing around the league.
He's betting on the Vikings. That's for damn sure. Anyway, Let's get to our last team, and then maybe with whatever time we have left, if we do have any time left, we can just talk about other stuff.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we can do our
Oh
two
yeah,
picks
yeah,
for the
that's
week.
right. We do have to do that, and I have to recap last weekend. Um, Bears. What is their over under win total? Is it like 7.5, 8.5? I would guess. Maybe.
Yeah, it's 7.5. It's actually up one from the start of the year. Believe it or not, I find that a little bit surprising, but 7.5 feels right, definitely right now. They are currently sitting at 2-2. A lot of positives right now out of Bears camp. I mean, even after a 1 point win against the Raiders, that was I don't know if any of y'all watched that game, but that was as sloppy of a football game as you will ever see in a professional sport. Just in general, like that was really rough. Like just turnover after turnover, just trading turnovers the entire game. Essentially, nobody wanted to win that game, and then the Bears somehow pulled it out in the end. But still a lot of positives. They're kind of getting their young core of weapons going on offense a little bit. We saw Colston Loveland get a catch before he got hurt. We saw Luther Burden show flashes a couple weeks ago. So, what is your current take on the Bears right now?
Oh well, Caleb Williams has been pretty good. Nothing special, but 927 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 2 picks. You'd love to see the completion percentage be a little bit higher, but he's got a 97.8 rating, and that's right about where Carson Wentz is right now. Wentz has a 98.2 rating in the games that he's played so far. Williams has 8 touchdowns, 2 picks. Wentz has 4 touchdowns and 2 picks. And then Goff, there's a separation. There's those two guys, and then there's a separation with Goff sitting at a 113 rating and Love sitting at a 113 rating. With the Bears, I don't know if I can trust them because they just play sloppy football, as you mentioned. That Geno Smith guy might have just thrown an interception like 10 minutes ago, the way that he's played so far this season. He might be studying film right now, and he may have just thrown another interception. That's how turnover prone that he's been so far this year. I want to believe in this Bears team. I really do. I feel like we've seen good moments between Williams and Ben Johnson. He still has that special in him, and he can make special plays. If the Bears aren't turning the ball over and they're just playing clean football, I think they could get there. But right now, let me take a look at their schedule. Right now, I'm going to hold on that. I'm still not overly confident based on the sloppiness that we've seen on both sides of the ball. But what say you?
Yeah, as stupid as it sounds, and this is based off of no like amount of evidence based on like what we've seen on the field so far this season. This is purely a bet on who I think Ben Johnson is as a coach. I'm gonna say buy
I like
on the
it.
Chicago Bears. And that's purely, like I said, just off of who I think Ben Johnson is as a coach. He's already shown flashes of what this offense can be, like fully realized. Like I don't know where DJ Moore fits into the equation long term, but I really like the idea of the trio of Roma Dunze, Luther Burden, and Colston Loveland kind of growing together with Caleb Williams. And honestly, I wouldn't rule out the possibility of a deadline move for DJ Moore if they find the right offer. But with that young core of weapons, I think this Bears offense can be pretty potent, and definitely this run game has room for improvement for sure. But their offensive line at least can pass protect at the very least, and with Caleb Williams actually getting the ball out on time, things look a lot better offensively for them. And I think the Bears might finally have a 4,000-yard passer for the first time
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah, what they do have is I do think Caleb Williams is Ben Johnson has done a good job trying to build his confidence. He's been effective as a scrambler. We obviously know the athlete, the special athlete that he is. He's been really good at recognizing blitzes, better than I've ever seen him pick up on those things in the NFL in his young career. And he's gaining confidence throwing the ball down the field. And if he can just keep up this hot streak against bad defenses and beat the bad defenses that he plays, they'll probably get there. I want to see them get a little more from DeAndre Swift within the structure of this offense on early downs. But it's clear that Caleb Williams, and this has been clear his entire career, he has the talent to dig the Bears out of holes that they dig themselves. But that's the problem, is they dig themselves so many holes, it feels like. But yeah, I'm not selling. I'm just holding. I gotta see a little more, but I can't argue with you, man. I do think there is some positive momentum in Chicago right now where there wasn't any 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, now we do our betting segment. So if you're new here, we do this every single week. At the end of our NFL episode, we each pick not two games, but two bets that we feel most confident in. And last week, I made a bold move and decided to fade Michael's pick. It wasn't actually planned. I actually was planning on going with that pick before Michael had picked, but he went first. Chose the over on
It
which
was
game was
the
it? Chose the over
it
on it.
was the
Which
Rams
one?
and Colts.
Yeah. Chose the over on that game, and then I went with the under. I ended up hitting the under there, but that probably won't be a common thing every week. But we're just gonna continue this series, tally it up towards the end of the year, and see who wins. So, starting off with you, Michael. Um, what are you thinking for this
Well,
week?
first of all, um, Emmy had Bears money line. Let's see. You had Bears money line. You did win that. Bears pulled it out against the Raiders, and you did have Colts, Rams under 49.5, and that did hit. It did get close, but it did hit. So after starting the first 2 weeks 0-2, 0-2, you did go 2-0. So you're sitting at 2-4 right now. And then for myself, I'm sitting at 2-4 as well as I had an 0-2 week last week. So with that,
Yeah, and shout out to Adonai Mitchell for that holding call. Because Jonathan Taylor, if he scored that touchdown, I would have been cooked.
ooh, Dodgers are losing. Okay. Um, Let me look at the board. You go ahead and start us off. I haven't looked at week 5 at all outside of tomorrow night. So go ahead and start us off.
Yeah, yeah. Funny enough, you say that. I'm actually gonna be. I'm gonna be pretty much winging it as well. All right, I'm looking at these games here. All right, one that pops up to mind immediately. Okay, I see the Lions and the Bengals. Lions favored by 8.5. I'm going to take the Lions to cover that. Um, that game feels like one where the Bengals can't run the ball. The Detroit's very good at stopping the run as well, but it just doesn't feel like a good matchup for the Bengals because they get into these passing scripts of the games and they just don't have answers at that point. They don't have Joe Burrow to just pick defenses apart, throwing 40 times a game, and they don't want to do that with Jake Browning. But they don't run the football enough to actually, have balance as an offense. So I don't see them getting much going offensively. I'm going to go with Detroit to cover 9-point spread.
Okay, is it a 9-point spread or 8.5?
8.5. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay. All right, I like it. I won't copy your pick, but that does seem like a pretty
Oh wait, no. It's actually 10.5 now. It opened at 8.5.
okay.
But
10.
I'm still gonna take that. It's a little tougher now, but yeah, I'll take it still.
Okay. This is a little risky, and I have not been good so far on um, laying points with favorites, but I am going to take a team that just never seems to lose, the Philadelphia Eagles at home, laying 3.5 against the Denver Broncos. I feel like they'll find a way. They're 12-3 against the spread in their last 15 games as favorites. So I'll bet on the best team in football, and I'll take the Eagles at home to win by more than a field goal.
Okay.
No rhyme or reason to it. Just betting on the best team in football.
Yeah. I can't knock you for that. I actually do have one in mind for my next one. My brain immediately was drawn to this Cowboys Jets game, and I'm gonna take the over in this one. The over under is set at 47.5. It's a little bit risky, just because I don't like. Obviously, the Jets' offense has looked awful the last few weeks, but I'm betting on the Cowboys' defense looking worse. So hoping for a high scoring one in that one.
Okay, I like that. Okay. Um, 45.5 tomorrow night. There's a lot of points. Okay, so we have Vikings, Browns, Minnesota favored by 3.5. We've got Texans, Ravens. Do we know if Lamar's going to play in that game?
No, we don't still.
Wow.
That's what makes it really tough.
Vegas says no because they've got Houston favored.
Yeah.
Okay, Giants, Saints, stay away. Uh, even though Jackson Dart, give him his props, did enough to win last week. Okay, Cowboys, Jets. I don't want to be on the same games you're on. This is a little. The one that catches my eye right away is this Colts Raiders game. It's just, do I take the spread or do I take the over under? The Raiders have been pesky, but Geno Smith has been a turnover machine. The over under on this game is 47.5, and the Colts have been one of the most efficient offenses in the league so far this year. Indianapolis favored at home -6.5. Do I trust them to win by a touchdown or more?
Yeah, if I were to help you out with that pick, I would probably lean the under for that game because I don't know if I see the Raiders putting up 20 points against this Colts defense. I think this Colts defense is pretty good.
It's either that or I take Indianapolis to win by a touchdown. I already have a spread. I'm already betting a favorite, so I'll take the under 47.5 on that game.
Yeah, not a bad pick. Not a bad pick. We definitely did wing it this week with those.
Yeah,
but hoping for the best there. This has been a good episode. I really liked this format.
Hope
you all enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, we're both 2-4, so hopefully both of us can get back to 500 this week with 2-0 weeks.
Yeah, that would be huge for sure.
Any parting shots?
Ooh, parting shot.
Or bold predictions for the weekend of football or anything like that?
Ooh, who's playing on Thursday night tomorrow?
It's 49ers and Rams.
Ooh. You got a pick for that game?
I'll take the Rams to win. They're at home, and the 49ers are basically putting out their don't know. They're
B team. Yeah, I'll take the Rams too. But yeah, that's gonna do it, y'all. Appreciate y'all watching, listening. This will be up probably sometime early Friday morning, most likely. But appreciate y'all watching, listening. See y'all on the next one. Peace out.
Yep. See y'all. Enjoy week 5.